Hello and welcome to my channel. I kind of hate saying that still. Today's tutorial is going to be for my retro throw pillow, which is a little flower pillow. You can do a cone-shaped center or just a flat center. This was a pattern that I made years ago, and I had this for free on my blog, and it did really well. So many people made it, but then I shut my blog down, and it is still available in my Etsy store, but I have revamped the pattern. The original pattern worked up in multiples of 6. This one's going to work up in multiples of 8, so it sits a little bit flatter. You don't have to fight it so much, and it's a little bit more clear when you're making it up. Now, we won't be making the large size because that's just going to take way too long. So with the new pattern, I have also added a little mini flower size, which I think is so cute. This one I'm just doing flat on each side. This is not adorable. I think like together, they're really sweet. This would be good even for like little market makes because it works up pretty fast. I used less than 1 skein of the Premier Basics Chenille Brights for this little one here. This one will definitely take like 2 skeins of the Bernat blanket, not 2 full skeins, but like a skein and a half probably, if you're gonna do that. Both sizes will be included in the pattern. Yeah, we're just gonna get into the small one today, and this will just kind of show you and answer all of the questions that I've ever gotten about how to make one of these. So let's start. As always, we're gonna go through the specs first. This is what the pattern would look like if you purchase this from my Etsy shop. Now, this was a pattern that I originally designed in 2020, but I have updated it to include 2 sizes and slightly improved the construction and the design and the instructions too. This is crocheted in the round, and we're essentially forming a ball-like shape, and then we stuff it so it closed. We sew on all the petals, and then we sew the little flower center. The flower center is crocheted in the round, and we sew it on after the main flower is complete. We do not join our rounds with a slip stitch, and we do not chain at the beginning of our rounds. We're just working in like a continuous spiral. This pattern calls for a 7mm crochet hook. We need a darning needle, stitch marker, scissors, and a lot of stuffing, way more than this. We are making the small size. That's going to be about 9.5 inches across. And then gauge is 11 stitches by 9 rows equals 4 by 4 inch square. And that's just obtained by single crocheting flat row by row. Some of the abbreviations in the pattern just include chain, single crochet, increase by putting 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch, single crochet 2 together, which is an invisible decrease. I'll show you how to do that, slip stitch, stitches, and then if you want to read some of this additional information, you can pause and read that, but let's get started. You can use any yarn you like for this, any blanket yarn. This is what the pattern was designed for. Today I'm going to use the Premier Basics Chenille Brights. This is super bulky. And I won't use the full skein, but pretty close. So I would say pick a full skein of this one if you're going to use that. You can also use Bernat blanket or any other kind of blanket yarn that you prefer. So let's get a center pole going here. Okay, we're going to start with a slip knot. Get that on your hook and chain 2. Now you can do magic ring if that's what you prefer to do. You wouldn't do the chain 2, you would just put your 8 single crochet into your magic ring. I prefer this because it always holds up for me. So after you do your chain 2, you are going to put 8 single crochet stitches into the first chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just gonna pull that tail tight, and there we go. There's our first round. For round 2, we are just going to increase in every single stitch around. So let's put 2 single crochet in each stitch until we have 16 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that's our round 2 completed. If you guys hate my counting, please let me know. I counted most of my tutorials and I'm like, I don't know if you guys hate this or not, especially if you're working at your own pace. Okay, so that's round 2. Now round 3 is generally where I start using my stitch marker. So for round 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet and increase in the next all the way around until we have 24 stitches. So 1 single crochet, I'm going to mark that with my stitch marker, and 2 in the next, 1 in the next stitch, and 2 in the next. Increase, 1 and an increase, 1 and an increase, 1 and an increase, oops, 1 and an increase, and 1 and an increase. And that completes round 3. So you should have 24 stitches all the way around. Okay, so for round 4, I'm just going to remove my stitch marker. Now we're going to do 2 single crochet stitches and an increase. So 1, 2, and then increase. And we're going to work that all the way around. So I'll start this round with you, but we won't do the whole thing together. So I've got my first one, put my stitch marker there, and 1 in the next one, and increase in the next stitch. So 1, 1, and increase. 1, and another 1, and then increase. Okay, so just work your way around doing 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and increasing in the next one until you reach your stitch marker, and I'll meet you back there. So this is the end of round 4. We should have 32 stitches going around. I'm going to remove that stitch marker, and for round 5 we are going to do 3 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 1 in each of those, and then we're increasing in our 4th stitch. So let's do that. 1, place your marker in there, 2, 3, and then increase, and 1, 2, 3, and increase, 1, 2, 3, and increase. And you're going to do that all the way around until you have 40 stitches all the way around your circle, and I will meet you back at the end. This is what we're looking like after round 5, and it's time to start round 6. I'm going to remove that marker. And in round 6, we are going to do 4 single crochet and increase in the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then increase into that next one there. So let's do 1, pop that marker back on, 2, 3, 4, and increase in the next stitch, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase in the next stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around until we have 48 stitches. So I'll meet you guys back at the end. So we end round 6 with 48 stitches. Now it's time to start round 7. We are going to do 5 single crochet stitches, and we're going to increase in the next stitch. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase in the next stitch, and that's going to get us 56 stitches. So let's start. 1, mark it. 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. Okay, my yarn's getting knotted up, so after you do that increase there, you're going to just complete doing that all the way around, and I will meet you back at the end. That completes round 7. Round 8, we are going to do 6 single crochet and then increase. So you guys can see the pattern each time. We're just kind of adding one more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to increase there. Let's start that. So put your first stitch in and mark it. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and increase. And we're going to do that all the way around until we have 64 stitches. Guess what I'm going to do, you guys? I'm going to meet you back at the end. If you made it this far, yay! We have 64 stitches around our circle, and we are going to do our final increase round. So for our final increase round, we are doing, you guessed it, 7 single crochet, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch. So put your first stitch in, mark it, and let's do the rest. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and increase. Okay, so that's round 9 for us. So we are going to do 7 single crochet and increase in the next all the way around until we have 72 stitches and you reach that marker. I'll meet you back at the end. So once you've completed round 9, you should have 72 stitches going all the way around your flower. And for rounds 10 to 14, so 5 rounds, all we're going to do is single crochet in every single stitch. We're going to do that for 5 rounds. So after you've completed each round, make sure you're moving your marker and keep track of crocheting 5 rounds. What that's going to do is build up the side and the width of our flower before we start decreasing. So go ahead and start on those 5 rounds, literally just 1 single crochet stitch into each stitch, no increasing this time. Just get to mindlessly crochet for 5 rounds. So I will meet you guys back here when I've done my 5 rounds of my flower. Okay. This is what we should be looking like after we complete round 14 of all just those plain single crochet stitches. So the sides of your piece should be starting to come up and form what looks like a really shallow bowl. So what we have to do now is basically the opposite of we did before. We just started doing those single crochet rounds, and we're going to start our decreases, and that's going to make it curve in and close up. So for round 15, we are going to do 7 single crochet stitches. So there's 1. So we'll do 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're going to single crochet the next 2 together. And we're going to do that all the way around until we decrease to 64. So I've got my first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm going to do my invisible decrease. So you just insert through the front loop and insert into the next front loop, and then yarn over and complete that stitch. And that will be a decrease stitch there. So let's go through that one more time, and then I'll let you guys finish the round on your own. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and invisible decrease. So working the next 2 stitches together. Okay, so you're just going to do that all the way around until you have decreased to 64 stitches and you reach that marker again. Okay, we currently have 64 stitches going around our flower. we're going to decrease in round 16 to 56 stitches. So we are going to do 6 single crochet stitches and then decrease. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and decrease. And we are going to do that all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and decrease all the way until we reach the beginning again. So I'll see you guys in the next round. At this point, you should be able to see that your piece is kind of coming inwards a little bit more. So for round 17, we are going to do 5 single crochet and then decrease. So we're just following that same pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and single crochet 2 together. And we're going to do that all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and single crochet 2 together all the way. I'll meet you back there. This is the end of round 17. We have 48 stitches. Now we're going to go on to round 18, where we are going to do 4 single crochet stitches and then single crochet 2 together. So 1, 2, whoops, 3, 4, and 2 together all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 together. Okay, and we're going to do that until we have 40 stitches, and I will meet you guys back. Okay, we have one more little row here to go, and then we're going to do something new. So for round 19, we are going to single crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we decrease. And we do that all the way around, and then we should end up with 32 stitches. So go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, decrease, and I'll see you guys for the next step. This is the end of round 19. So it's at this point that I like to kind of start adding some stuffing in, just so that I can kind of see how much I'm going to need, and it's easy to do it evenly. So grab some stuffing, and we're just going to push it in there a little bit. We will be adding more later. Also, if you guys can hear my dog snoring, I apologize. She is out cold, literally snoring up a storm. Like, I'm happy she's snoring and not licking, but good Lord, I just hope it's not picking up on the audio. Okay, so that's good. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to have this be a nightmare to do, but I want to get some in there right now just to start that off. I also like to leave like a gap in the middle here. This is going to make our sewing part so much easier. So make sure you leave a little hole there. And then we're going to go on to round 20. So in round 20, we're just going to continue in that decreasing pattern. So we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1, 2. Make sure I mark my first stitch, and then we single crochet the next 2 together. And we're going to do that all the way around. So 1, 2, 2 together. 1, 2, 2 together. Okay, so I just got a little bit more to go, and I'll meet you at the end there. We're now down to 24 stitches, and for round 21, we are going to do 1 single crochet and then single crochet 2 together, and that will give us 16 stitches. So I mark that first one, single crochet 2 together, 1 and 2 together. I just work this whole round with you guys because it's a pretty quick one. Okay, so that's quite a small opening now. So at this point, I am going to put some more stuffing in there. So honestly, pack it in because you really want your petals to be able to pop when you're sewing around to form them. Don't be afraid to stuff. I feel like so many patterns are always like, careful not to overstuff, and then because of that people really understuff their projects, but like you're going to be able to tell if your stitches are exploding or not, and that's all. You just don't want these to be so stretched that you can see through, but this actually creates quite a tight fabric, so if you have the same gauge as me, like you should be fine. I don't want it to be too stuffed though, so that like my yarn wants to snap when I sew around, so we'll see. I just want it to be giving a nice round even shape and like really make sure this area is properly like stuffed out. Definitely work around. Make sure you keep digging out that hole in the center as well, because you're gonna hate sewing through this like 5-inch thick of stuffing. It's not gonna be fun. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe there's one little gap here that I want to fill in. I'm happy with my stuffing, so I'm going to move on to round 22. This is our final round. Finally. It's actually a pretty quick project though. So this is just single crocheting 2 together the entire way around. And that will get us to our 8 stitches that we need. So there's my 1. This part is always a little bit harder because of the stuffing. So you could wait, but I don't know, it's kind of tricky. Also, this area will be covered with the petal center or flower center, so we don't have to worry too much. So just single crochet 2 together all the way around until you have your 8 stitches, and I will show you guys what to do after that. Okay, we are finished round 22. We are almost done with the main part of our flower. So I'm just going to pull out my stitch marker. I don't know why it's going so wonky now. I'm going to slip stitch to the first stitch there, and that will kind of finish off for me. I'll just pull it out a little bit. What you want to do, since we're going to be making 6 petals on this one, is you're going to take that yarn and you're going to wrap it around 6 times. So 1, 2, why is this so hard to do? 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's just going to get us a better estimate of how much yarn we're going to need for the next section. So you can put away the rest of your working yarn. Let's take those wraps off. And we're going to carefully pull all of that through that slip stitch that we just made, just so that it totally finishes off our work. So just be careful that this doesn't knot up on you. Okay, so any extra stuffing that you want to do it now. If you're happy with it, that's good. This is kind of what mine's looking like all the way around. You're going to grab your darning needle and you're going to thread that long tail. And then we're going to sew around these 8 stitches to close our gap here. So just weaving like in and out. Again, just be really careful that your tail doesn't knot up against itself. Okay, so that closes up our flower. So we're good on both sides. To form our petals, we're going to wrap it around, insert through the back here, and try to come out in the center with our needle and pull it through. So you can find where you want your first one to be. I like to go like opposite of where this tail is coming out on the other side. I'm going to go here. It doesn't really matter. You can pick wherever you want. So insert it down the center. Squish this together. That's the easiest way to get it through. Once you see it pop through, just snag it and pull it through gently. So most of my tail is through. I've got it all wrapped. What I want to do is just pull this a little bit tighter around the outside and pull that back through the center to get more of a dent here. You don't want to pull too tightly because you can snap your yarn. That's why I like to pull it tight around what we sewed on the outside and then pull up. So for this one, I'm now going to go on the opposite side. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to insert the needle around, find a center point. Pull, pull, pull. Some of this stuff came up with it. That's fine. I'm just going to pull it out. I don't really care. I'm going to pull this tight from here and then pull the excess around there to kind of get an indent. Again, don't pull too tight. If you wanted to, you could wrap this with like a worsted weight acrylic or a cotton yarn to give it a little bit more strength so it doesn't snap. I have had the yarn snap on me before and it is really annoying. I just tie the yarn back on and keep going. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 here and 2 here. So 1, 1, 1, 1. I like to kind of go opposite of where I just went. So I think I'm going to go this way and I'll form that petal. Try to find the middle again. Okay, so I'm back at the center. Got that pretty tight there. I've got that one petal here and I'm kind of happy with that shape. So I'm going to leave it be. Again, don't worry if some fluff comes out of there, that's okay. And then I'm going to go in the opposite direction and go on this side and form this petal. So you're just going to continue doing that until you have your 6 petals. So once I'm done that, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you guys how to finish that off. Here are my 6 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you find like one section looks really small and you don't like it, you want to even it out, just kind of wiggle that yarn over and you should be okay. You can always like pinch around here to make them pop a little bit more. Feel free to like squish it down. You can really work with the shaping after it's done. We have our final one that we just completed. You can see here I do actually have quite an excessively large tail left, so you may not need to do 6 wraps, but just in case, better to have more than not enough. So I just find any spot that I like in that center, insert my hook underneath, and then I'm literally just tying a knot. This is going to be hidden, so it doesn't need to be super pretty, but just to make sure it's secure. And I might even do 2 just for peace of mind. Okay. You can either weave in your end or just snip it off and keep it small because we will be sewing over that. And then the next part of this is going to be making our flower centers. So we're going to make 2 and we'll go over that next and then we'll attach them. Typically I would use yellow because that's more what a flower has, but I really want to use this orange because I think it would look really cool with the purple. So I'm going to use orange for my flower center. You don't need a lot. We're going to make 2. That way this can be reversed and it will hide any ugly part of it. I just think it finishes it off nice and neat. So let's start with a slip knot. Get that on your hook. And for this part, I don't know, you can do what you want with your magic ring or your chain too. It's up to you. There we go. Let's move in. Okay, so I chain 2 and I put 8 single crochet stitches into the first chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's our first round. Round 2, we're just going to do an increase all the way around, so 2 single crochet into each stitch until we have 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, you could do a more dome shaped one if you wanted to make this kind of pop out and be rounded out. Just single crochet one more round, doing 1 single crochet in each stitch, so you'd have 16 stitches, and then finish off. If you want it flat, like how I'm going to do, we are just going to finish this one off right now. So we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to cut a decent length tail for sewing that on to the flower center. So again, you're going to make 2 of these, and then we're going to go sew them on. Let's pull that through as well. That will finish that there. So make 2, and then I'll meet you back to sew them on. When you're ready to sew this on to the center of your flower, you're going to just thread your darning needle. I like to actually insert it into that spot where we slip stitched it off, just to pull it through to the back. And then place that where you want it to go. I might snip this just a little bit. And you guys, don't worry about it being perfect. It does not need to be perfect. This is what I'm learning as I go. So just insert your needle wherever it's like easiest to get under, and go back into the single crochet stitch that your yarn came out of. And then try to go a little closer. So you'll go into there and then sew underneath. And the one that we just came out of, we're going to go back into, and that's going to make it so that we can't see any of the stitching around. And go into the next one. I just want to make sure that it's sitting where you want it to sit. Make sure you're sewing up high enough, but not like too high that it's going to be pulling stitches. I wish I had one of those curved darning needles. That would make this so much easier. But this is my favorite darning needle because it's metal. And it's the only one I have that's metal with a large enough eye to fit blanket yarn through. So the day I lose this needle is the day I have the biggest temper tantrum of my life. You're just going to be weaving under all of these stitches to seamlessly attach that flower center. You can skip ahead if you want, or you can watch me painstakingly sewing this on. It's not too bad. It goes pretty fast. If you're doing the large size, this would be a little bit more tedious, but it goes on very nicely. Okay. Once you're done, I just put my needle in between the next stitch and I just insert it down and back up through the center of this petal. We'll tighten it not too tightly. And I kind of weave that in here a couple times. And then I'm going to go down and out through the other side. Okay, if it's long enough for these tails, I do kind of tie them together just because it will anchor it a little bit more. You can tie a knot with them if you like. I'm just going to cut that one off. I'm going to sew on the next one and then we'll be finished. When you sew on that second one and you're not sure how to finish it off, I just do that same thing where I kind of go through the center here and then I weave it down under out through the petal, and then you're just going to cut that off and hide it in there, and then you're done. So both sides work as the flower, and you got these cute little, I guess, mini pillows or like decorative little flowers. Thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. I hope you guys love your finished product. If you make one, of course, tag me on social media, wherever you post, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I love to see your work and I love sharing your guys' work. Again, this is available in my Etsy shop, and I think that's it for today. Bye, guys.